Hello, next up, the upside of anxiety. How to worry well. This is written by Patricia Pearson. So apparently there's this person who's an anxious traveler and they arrive at airports and train stations extra early and they triple check all their documents and feel a tightness in the jaw, a slight tension in the stomach, and until they've arrived where they're going. Non-anxious people treat this error for being a nervous Nelly. Apparently that's pretty good. Apparently there's actually an upside to anxiety where you can just go ahead. A growing number of psychologists and neuroscientists are getting out of the message that anxiety and other negative feelings have a positive role to play in their lives. And this is actually good for you. Why anxiety is good for you, even though it feels bad. Since their culture goes overboarding in demonizing difficult emotions. She knows that what it's like to get swamped from time by anxiety. I remember a period at work when there was a lot going on and what? It was like a yucky cloud of free-floating anxiety, and that's pretty much it. And all you needed is like a bunch of sleep. Apparently, these experts wonder if the natural role that anxiety plays in their lives are somehow being forgotten. For example, the World Health Organization (WHO) announced in March 22 that the prevalence of anxiety and depression has actually increased globally by 25% over the previous year. The WHO has the findings a wake-up call to all countries to step up mental health services and support. And do they know for certain that their data represents a public health crisis, or could it mean that millions of folks are quite certainly stressed out and afraid? Apparently it's not. Apparently being stressed out is a pretty good thing. Sometimes spending time in natural light and green spaces can also restore the balance. Of course that doesn't mean you have to be always anxious. Okay, if you're always anxious, there's probably a problem for that. That's a very major issue and you're going to need to find a doctor, a psychiatrist for that. But you have to be anxious sometimes, so let it go. It's a wave that you'll need to learn to ride. It's a ride. It's just something you need natural. It's a natural thing. It's okay. It's just also it probably teaches you. It lets you learn. Next, the sound of silence. So the author of this, by D.G. Marshall from Toronto Live, actually did The Sound of Silence. This guy, D.G. Marshall from Toronto Live, used to have the radio show and he quit it. The Sound of Silence. So this guy actually shut up for 3 months and walked more than 600 miles, and that transformed his life. He has a wife, he has kids, and they're not big fans of him. And so, apparently, when he was at school, he was kicked out of 4 schools because of his reports, and not because he had bad grades, because this happened. Apparently, they each had variations of the same thing. You would do better if you shut up. Shut up. Shut up, please. That's basically actually literally what it said. And of course, this mouth is actually pretty useful and has served him terribly as a student, but it set him up perfectly for a career on the radio. 2003, he launched a talk show on an AM station in the Toronto area, and he would ask people about their religious beliefs and the role faith played in their lives. In his 16 years hosting the show, it interviewed rabbis, nuns, witches, Wiccans, and sanctuaries, high priests, and had celebrities, politicians, religious leaders, and spiritual gurus share the why behind their beliefs. 16 years, man! 16 years! Apparently there's things. He used his gift of gab to get whatever he wanted from his parents, like money, a later curfew, and to get out of what he didn't want. Chores, groundings, and he was always asked to leave 4 different schools because of that same reason of not shutting up. That's literally what it said. His wife of 28 years, actually wanted a divorce, and his kids weren't actually the biggest fans. And when he asked his daughter what he was doing wrong, she told him that she didn't have enough time to explain it all. So apparently he decided, he was at age of 50, and he just wanted to go ahead and shut up, and for 3 months, and go on a 600-mile route. And when he arrived at start in October 2016, he was actually worried that his quest was already doomed. And that happened. And then when the hostel staff or fellow travelers spoke to him, he pointed to his mouth, mimed the act of talking with his hands, then slid his index finger across his neck. And he can usually get what he wanted using improvised hand signals, which is pretty bad. Also, when people still didn't understand what he wanted, he would type something on his iPhone saying, "Please forgive me for not talking," and traveling for 3 months in a vow silence. You can still talk to me. Smiling emoticon. And then one day he still had the judgmental talking, so he could still his judgmental side completely in check. One morning, about a month into the trip, he woke up around 5:30, grabbed the pack, and walked downstairs to the hostel lobby, where he spotted a skinny, scruffy guy in his late 50s with his hair in a ponytail, staggering around and slurring his words. And he's not drunk before dawn. Well, Dawn, what's your problem, dude? And he didn't want him accompanying him on the trail, so he skipped breakfast and left. So later that day, he checked out one of the many historic and architecturally stunning churches that dot the Camino. And when he returned to the path, he heard the voice say, "Buon Camino," a common greeting among the pilgrims. But it was the guy he tried to avoid, so he tried to avoid him again, and then he realized they talked a little. He thought, "All right, fine, talk to me, please." That happened. And apparently he had he had Lou Gehrig's disease, the ALS, this kind of disease that Stephen Hawking died from, and he sounded drunk, but he was actually just a disease that he had. And he once told me about his story of his career as a professional kickboxer representing Germany internationally, and he even helped fasten his belt and do up his jacket, and they developed a profound bond, which was the very thing his life was lacking. And by the time they parted, it was obvious. By opening his eyes and his heart, he actually, the guy writing this, DGA, I think his name was, actually got people to like him, and he liked other people too. Most days he followed a particular rhythm. He'd rise before dawn, pack his bag, put on his jacket, lace up his boots, and walk for 6 to 12 hours. Every day was painful. One of his big toenails was black, and his pinky toes was calloused, and his shoulders and back ached from the weight of his pack. But the orientation on the trail, the sun, the night, baked the left side of his face, which would leave him long-term skin damage. However, finally, he came back. Just after... Yeah... When he came back, and he was 50 years old, he finally came back, and he realized he's done it. Ever since then, he needed permanent change. So he abandoned his social media accounts and moved back in with his wife on a 100-acre farm in Caledon, northwest of Toronto. And silence has become part of his daily life. Like, a couple of times a year, he actually welcomes a group of 6 to 12 on the farm for a weekend, during which they walk a 31-mile trail in silence. In the evenings, they relax and verbally debrief around the fire. And he's not offering to help anyone find themselves, become successful, repair their marriage, or cope with grief. All he's offering is a place to slow down, shut up, and listen. And because it's the silence that the important stuff gets louder. That's pretty good. And next up, we actually have to talk about Jungle Walk, 4 walk harmonies, and whatever else there are. Okay, apparently the Jungle Walk, it's a brain game. So let me walk this out through you. So apparently there's a person who is first looking for a toucan with binoculars. Like, 2 people. The second one is that the person who wants to take a picture of the monkey is not in the middle. The person who wants to see an iguana cannot be drawn. Cammy has already seen lots of iguanas, and also she is looking for someone else. Sonia's right behind the leader with her sketch bag. Joey thinks toucans are literally amazing, but is hoping to see a different animal. And Tim is using his compass so they don't get lost. Okay, so what am I talking about here? I just showed you 7 random statements. What does this have to do? I already said Jungle Walk. So apparently it's a game. It's a brain game. So the thing is, it's a brain game, so let me explain the situation. So, Cammy, Joey, Sonia, and Tim are walking single file through the jungle along a narrow path, and each hopes to spot a particular animal: iguana, monkey, sloth, toucan, and is carrying a specific item: binoculars, camera, compass, sketchpad. And using these following items, what order are they walking in, and what is Joey carrying, and which animal does Sonia really hope to see? And apparently... Alright, so I've already told you the 4 statements, and here are the darn answers. So, walking order first to last is Cammy, Sonia, and Tim, and Joey. Joey is carrying the camera, and Sonia wants to see a sloth. Yay! And that's it for today. Hopefully you guys actually enjoyed this episode. I hope to see you guys soon. I'll see you guys in Science Next. See you guys soon. Until next time, shout out, peace, and always remember to wear a helmet. Bye-bye!